So, friends, I'm Rabbi Ruthie Gelfarb of Congregation Har HaShem. I'm going off script already because I wanted to introduce myself first before we show a brief slide presentation that was put together. None of us wants to be here today. And many people have said to me, I'm afraid I'm going to cry. Cry. How could we not? Crying for a sign of love, of not understanding, of loss. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have questions. It's okay not to have words. What truly matters is showing up, being here. Being here for Jeffrey, being here for the family, and being here for one another, all who had the honor and the blessing of knowing Jeffrey. I'd like to share a few readings. It's a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, to hope, to dream, to be and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing. A holy thing to love. For your life has lived in us, your laugh once lifted us, your word was gift to us. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death can touch. Hannah Senich, the brave Israeli poet, wrote a poem about stars. Mark and Sherry told me that Jeffrey's first word was star. He uttered it during a family trip to the Grand Tetons. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people we have loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our lives, these are the ways we remember. A poem by Linda Ellis. It's called The Dash. I read of a person who stood to speak at the memorial service of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstones from the beginning to the end. He noted first came the date of birth, July 7th, 1997, and then with tears the following date of his friend's death, January 9th, 2025. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time that he has spent on earth. And now only those who loved him know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how you and I live and love, and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel. Be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. And if we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your friends give eulogies about your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say and how you spent your dash? Jeffrey William Marshall spent his dash incredibly well. And we have a number of speakers who want to share memories of Jeffrey and what he meant to them, to us, and the lessons of his life that we can take into our own lives so we can ensure that his memory will continue to be for a blessing. Jeffrey had a personal trainer for many years, Kevin, and I'd like to invite you up first to share some words. I'm not saying last names because I have a feeling I would completely mess them up.
Excuse me, my last name is Guidi, and everyone always messes it up, so you wouldn't have been the first. Jeff's dark sense of humor would have wanted me to bring some light into this day of remembrance, so please forgive me for my upcoming sins. Hi, my name is Kevin. I was Jeff's personal trainer, and I am a recovering Catholic. First sin, check. My wife Amelia is Jewish because she was raised in a blended family of a recovering Catholic father and a Jewish mother, and was not brought up with organized religion. But this makes my girls Jewish because we know who the mother is. Isn't that correct, Rabbi? Yes. I am reminded, seeing all of you here today to honor Jeff together, how special community is. This just shows how many lives Jeff has touched. In our own way, we have tried to teach our two daughters the lessons in life that matter most to us. Being kind, being patient with others who may be going through things that we don't fully comprehend, and not to take anything for granted. Mark and Sherry were wonderful as role models to me as a once young parent trying to teach these values. Their dedication to Jeff was never short of incredible. Jeff had more love and support than most kids, and it never seemed like a chore. The three of them together were like three best friends hanging out. From an outside perspective, I really don't think that you could have done anything better. They as a family would often work out with me in the weight room. Twice a week, I think nearly for like a decade. Jeff was the ideal client because he actually wanted to be there, which a lot of my people don't. He wanted to work hard. He wanted to grow as an athlete. With all that Jeff was facing for challenges, I never once had to worry that he was doing the exercise wrong. He was an attentive client. One would think that with his limitations, I'd have to watch him doing dips, bench press, or whatever we were doing to make his upper body stronger. But instead, I had to make sure that Mark wasn't using the wrong grip on pull down so Sherry wouldn't yell at him that he was doing it wrong. I would not let this marriage fall apart on my watch. I loved seeing your family dynamic. It's what I hope for when my children are young adults. I hope that they enjoy our company the way that Jeff enjoyed you. Mark, Sherry, you never seem to take time for granted. Looking at all the adventures you went on together, the things that you exposed Jeff to, you made his life exciting and full. Now on to the wonderful man we are all here to honor. I was trying to come up with a simple way to define Jeff, which is hard to do with anyone. But I came up with this. Jeff was the easiest person, and he had the most to complain about. Now think about what the opposite of that is. He's the hardest person to deal with the least amount to complain about. Can you put a hand up if you know someone like that? Does anybody know someone like that? Now point at one of them in the room if you would. I'm just kidding. Jeff was easy. He was just so easy. He was even-keeled. He was sweet. He was a glass is more than half full kind of guy. He was courageous and he was determined. And he was really, really smart. I think he should have had a job with the Avs front office. He was like the Goodwill Hunting of the Avs, Mammoth, and Rockies, like anything and everything. But here's something that you don't hear every day. He allowed me as a trainer to celebrate someone getting a leg removed. Think about that. I'm pretty sure that that won't ever happen again. The surgery was going to give him so much more freedom by not carrying all that extra weight. And in fact, the only bummer in his mind with getting his leg removed is that he didn't get his other leg removed because the surgery went so well. I mean, I never thought I would ever hear something like that. It's priceless. And to top it off, Sherry showed me this tiny rubber foot that he had planned on putting on the surgery side to make people think that his leg was regenerating. Who can face that kind of pain and challenge and still be able to joke, to not let it ruin them, but to find humor? And I loved that about Jeff. Jeff's life was cut way too short, way too short, but he did it right while he was here. And I think maybe that's what we're all supposed to do. Maybe that's why he can leave us. Maybe he showed us what we're supposed to do with it while we're here. I hope that everything that I've learned from him can help me be as good of a son and as a human being. I hope that the way I've watched Mark and Sherry with him can help me be a more loving and patient father. And I hope that Jeff is in some other place, standing tall, stealing third, or skating down the ice. Thank you, buddy, for choosing me to be in your life. I'll miss you, and you will never be forgotten.
We're now going to hear from Kendall, the owner of the Rocky Mountain Tennis Center and one of Jeffrey's tennis coaches.
Good afternoon. My name is Kendall Chitomber. The players that I work with, including our dear Jeffrey, call me Coach K. You can call me Coach K if you like. I'm one of the owners and the director of tennis at the Rocky Mountain Tennis Center here in Boulder, and I'm passionate about wheelchair tennis. I met Jeffrey on the very first day that I had the opportunity to be introduced to the sport of wheelchair tennis. That was an amazing moment for me. I met Jeffrey at the Randy Snow Memorial Wheelchair Tennis Camp that we were hosting at the Rocky Mountain Tennis Center, and I believe it was in 2012. As the director of tennis and the director of the high performance tennis program, I actually had no idea that we were hosting the Randy Snow Memorial Wheelchair Tennis Camp that day, because my former business partner, Duke Pollock, who had no idea that I was interested in wheelchair tennis, set it up with the Colorado Wheelchair Tennis Foundation with Jane Shafroth and the folks at the CWTF. And so when I showed up at the club that day, I was on my way in a hurry, as I normally am, on my way out to the University of Colorado Tennis Complex, which is about a 5-minute drive away, where I was supposed to lead about 20 or 30 kids that day playing tennis. And when I got to the camp, when I got to the club, I found Jeffrey, Coach Frank, Coach Rich Berman, Jane Shafroth, Coach Paul, all the way from Florida, USTA National, and all the other players and supporters. This was a big deal. While I was on the way to coach another program, and naturally, incredulously, I said, "What the heck is this?" At the time, they pulled me over, and Jane introduced me to Coach Paul. Coach Paul said, "Get in the chair and give it a try." I called my coaches at CU South, and I said, "I'm sorry, guys, I can't make it this morning. I've got I've got to play some wheelchair tennis. I've got to learn about this. And they put me on the court with Jeffrey. And even though I was the high-performance coach and former semi-pro, he was naturally the star. He did much better than me. I kept trying to sidestep in the chair, and my hands were really tender, Colby. Unfortunately, I was only able to be there for an hour or two due to my other coaching responsibilities. But through it all, Jeff chatted me up, he encouraged me, and most importantly, he shared his hope that I would get involved in wheelchair tennis as a coach. Even though Jeff was born with a rare genetic disorder, you wouldn't know it reading all the things that he accomplished in his life, reading all the amazing trips that you guys took together, seeing him in the slideshow halfway up a cliff wall and 50 feet under the surface of the ocean, scuba diving. It was amazing. Certified as a scuba diver at age 11, playing sled hockey, and then finally taking up wheelchair tennis as a teenager, where I met him. And I'm so thankful that I did, because for me, I credit Jeffrey and his inspiration to get involved as a coach. Jeff was one of the most incredible people I've ever known in my life. It will always stand as an inspiration to all of us who knew him, who loved him, as a symbol of overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges to live a life full of joy and contribution to the community around him in so many ways. He was one of the most kind, caring, and empathetic people I've ever known. He was a dear friend and loved by all who knew him. Jeffrey, I will miss you. Our hearts go out to his parents, Sherry and Mark, and to his family. I've also been asked to speak on behalf of the CWTF. The Colorado Wheelchair Tennis Foundation would like to express their gratitude to everyone who has donated to the foundation in Jeffrey's memory. The CWTF will be using funds to send a deserving junior wheelchair tennis player to a USTA national camp in the near future. On behalf of Rocky Mountain Tennis Center and the 5430 Kids Tennis Foundation, we will be donating the gear, the rackets and the shoes and the gear for that player to go play tennis. Sherry has mentioned that Jeffrey's attendance at a camp in California all by himself, which is amazing, was transformative in his development as a young man. The CWTF hopes the recipient of the Jeffrey Marshall Wheelchair Tennis Camp Scholarship will have the same kind of experience. Thank you again for all your kind donations.
Thank you, Coach K. Jeffrey also loved sled hockey, and David Finn was his sled hockey coach and also was his summer employer. So I'd like to invite you up now as well.
Hello. It's been a long time since I've seen Jeffrey. I was his coach since he started sled hockey all the way through. And this is much more overwhelming than I thought, but all right. I'm going to do what I tried to write here, so good luck. Those pictures just were pretty recent of him, and I haven't seen him for a while, so seeing him go through those years is really hard right now. He worked for me. He was always there for me. He was an inspiration to all of us. He was one of the pioneers of the sled hockey travel team, which was a huge thing for everybody. Part of the original group that helped build the foundation that we have now today. His dedication to the sport, along with the support of his family and instrumental growth to the youth hockey program. I talk about where Jeffrey helped out the most, and that was on the travels for sure. He knew where every elevator was at for the team. He knew he did not want to get in a bind anywhere. He would look ahead. He always helped everybody on the team because he was always looking ahead. He was a really witty person. He knew how to find ways to make stuff happen. He did that all the way through his life. I wish I was able to do more in the concrete part with him. If I was a little bit more established, maybe it would have worked out a little better, and then everything was a little different. People went different ways, and I sure wish I had touched base with him. This is supposed to be like 3 minutes, and I had it to 3:21, and I can't give it out. He was there the entire time I was the coach. There for 11 years, I coached. So every tournament, every travel, every subway to Fenway Park, I think it was that like the train that we took towards there? You guys knew where you were going the whole time? Jeffrey did too. I remember something right here. But I wasn't able to pull up too many pictures from back then. But national championship too, right? He left about when all of it started changing a little bit for that whole group of people. That whole core of people were pretty slim at that point, and kids were older. I talked about how I have 3 kids. So JD is 23 right now, so 4 years behind Jeffrey. And I started when he was 5 years old. And then the other one is 17. His name's Connor. So it was my daughter in between. All of us always there from when they were little kids on Evergreen Lake when it's frozen out there. You guys were at every single one. Jeffrey demanded we go to he demanded they go to everyone. But they enjoyed the travels for sure. Jeffrey was just so special that way. I wish I knew him more recently, but back then it's pretty much the same. Jeffrey embraced life fully, never letting his disabilities define him. He approached every challenge, whether on the ice, in school, or even facing a set of huge staircases, with a spirit of determination. He had an incredible ability to find creative solutions to any obstacle, always figuring out a way that worked best for him. Though quiet and by nature, Jeffrey, never hesitated to share his thoughts. He spoke his mind thoughtfully, and his suggestions were always insightful and valuable. I can't count the number of times I took his advice to heart. Jeffrey's life, though perhaps too short, was a testament of resilience, resourcefulness, and the power of quiet strength. He touched the lives of many, both on and off the ice for us, and he will be deeply missed. He leaves behind a legacy of determination and a reminder that even the quietest voices can have a profound impact. Thank you, guys.
There's a teaching in Judaism that says, I learned a lot from my teachers, but I learned even more from my students. And just hearing from Kevin, Kendall, and David, who were Jeffrey's coaches and trainers, it's clear that he taught them quite a bit. Jeffrey also worked at the YMCA of the Rockies, and it's not every day you ask the boss to come and speak about their employee, but we'd like to invite up Kate to share about her relationship with Jeffrey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kate, and I was Jeffrey's supervisor at work. For those of you who didn't know, Jeffrey worked on the human resources team at YMCA of the Rockies for the past 3 years, since February of 2022. For those of you who aren't familiar with YMCA of the Rockies, we're not your typical swim and gym Y that you find around the country. We're actually a camp, conference, and retreat center. We're the largest YMCA conference center in the world, and we hire over 2,000 seasonal employees every year and about 120 year-round staff. Jeffrey was the welcoming face to thousands of applicants at YMCA of the Rockies. I ran some numbers with our data analyst before coming here, and we found that Jeffrey worked on over 3,774 applications during his time with us. And of those, he hired and helped onboard over 2,018 people. Yeah. The amount of times Jeffrey complained with us during his employment, 0. Everyone who knew Jeffrey knew he was incredible with people. Our team knew that. Our applicants knew that, and most notably, our hiring managers and volunteers know that. I say that because our hiring managers and volunteers are not the most tech-savvy people at work. I knew Jeffrey helped our volunteers and hiring managers through the hiring process, but the full extent of his efforts weren't fully realized until one of our hiring meetings, when Jeffrey would often share a funny story. They were once a week. And at this hiring meeting, he told a story about assisting a returning volunteer with their application. And he would spend hours helping our volunteers. But Jeffrey was going out of his way to help our older and flustered volunteers to the point where I'm talking about giving them directions to the library near their house because he noticed they were either working off of a flip phone or using dial-up internet. He'd then get on FaceTime with them, which took another 30 minutes to figure out FaceTime, explaining how to use it. And he would somehow get our sweet, technologically inexperienced volunteers onboarded. Going back to those numbers I shared earlier, our volunteers made up only 14% of the applications that Jeffrey handled for us. To me, that speaks wonders of who Jeffrey was as a person. It didn't matter your status or your tier or where you were at in life and what you needed help with. He helped everyone equally every single time. The loss of Jeffrey on our team has been felt tremendously, and I speak for everyone on our team when I say we miss him every day. especially during our weekly hiring meetings, as again, he always had a funny story to share. And I want to personally thank Sherry and Mark for letting me come down to Denver on Wednesday to say goodbye to him, and for sharing more of his life stories with me. I'll carry those stories with me forever, and I'm dedicating my season of USTA to him. I got a patch that says for Jeffrey, and I can't wait to put it on my bag. As Jeffrey and I shared a strong love for the game of tennis, as well as the Chicago Cubs, which I found out from Mark on Wednesday. Our team and hiring managers that worked with Jeffrey signed some of these custom tennis balls for you. And just hearing the star theme, I think, is amazing because you get star awards if you're considered, like, you show that at work as an employee. And so we put his star awards in there. And then we also made sure to get some balls for Dexter. So Dexter and Jeffrey can keep playing. Thank you.
So we now invite up Jenny and Lonnie. Jenny was Jeffrey's very first friend.
Actually, you're getting 3 grandstands today. Dana was a little hesitant about speaking, but she's going to go ahead. As way of reference, we've done many, many trips with the Marshalls and spent a lot of time with them over the years. And the girl on the motorcycle with Jeffrey and the girl giving Jeffrey a kiss with the sunflowers, that's Jenny. They've known each other since they were born. In my mind, there's no more noble adjective that can be used to describe a person's character than tough. Being able to handle the blows life lands with grace and resilience. To get up off the mat after being knocked down, determined to stay in the ring and keep on swinging. Jeffrey Marshall dragged himself up out of the dirt more times than anyone I have ever known. He did so with composure, dignity, and courage. It is my sincere hope that when I face my own trials, I will remember what Jeff, the toughest person I've ever met, taught me about confronting adversity.
Okay, hi, sorry, I'm still crying about human resources, which I never thought I would. My name is Jenny, and Jeffrey was my very first friend. Many of you know that as a child, Jeffrey was diagnosed with Maffucci syndrome, which is a condition so rare that under 200 cases have ever been documented. And the thing is, that was the least interesting thing about him. He was my very first friend. He was stuck with me from my birth. Not his, he was 6 months older than me and never let me forget it. We went on dozens of family vacations, most often to Akumal, Mexico, where we would be dragged out snorkeling by our parents when all we wanted to do was stay inside and watch Power Rangers, which in 2004 in Mexico was on 24/7, and if you know Jeffrey when he was a little boy, you know that that was his idea of paradise. And on occasion, our deadhead parents would drag us to Valley View Nudist Hot Spring, which was not Jeffrey's idea of paradise. Jeffrey was one of the smartest people I have ever met. He was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I don't understand baseball statistics, and he did, which is just crazy to me. And he was funny. Jeffrey was really, really funny. Despite everything life threw at him, he had this incredible sense of humor. He was witty and sharp, and in his father's footsteps, not afraid of a little sophomoric comedy. When we were 12, Jeffrey shared with me the greatest discovery any preteen could ever make. You can walk up to a bar in Mexico and order something called a virgin sex on the beach. He once managed to convince me that he was allergic to water, but only every other day. Jeffrey deserved more time, and we all deserved more time with him. But I'm really grateful for the time that we got because it was awesome. I'm going to miss my friend, and I already do.
Hi, I'm Dana. I'm not on the marquee. I asked these guys to come and help me speak because I didn't think I could do this, but apparently I'm the only one that's not going to break down. I knew Jeffrey. I didn't realize that the star thing was a theme, but I knew Jeffrey before he was a twinkle in Mark's eye. And he twinkled throughout his life. And Jeffrey was a fiery force. When he was a kid, he was noisy, recalcitrant, and demanding. I referred to him as Little Lord Jeffrey. And he was a prankster, and he was a hell of a lot of fun. He wisecracked his way into everybody's hearts, including mine. Once, when he stayed with me for several days while Mark and Sherry were on a much-needed vacation, he told his teacher that we had no milk and very little food in my house. And I am very lucky that she did not opt to call social services. Sadly, Jeffrey's life, as everybody knows, was marred by countless painful procedures and surgeries. Hardly anything to find amusing. But without much searching, he found the absurd and twisted in life and kept himself and the world around him laughing. This was a gift that served him well and those he loved also. Over the years, Jeff proved to be a loyal and gracious friend. He was a jokester, but he was poised and he was generous with his time and attention. It didn't matter when I showed up at their house, I always felt like he was happy to see me, interested in my ideas, and ready to share a dinner and a game. And despite our generational difference, he never made me feel like I was just his parents' friend, but really and truly a friend of his. And so with sadness, I say goodbye to my friend whose twinkling on earth was too brief, but oh so bright. Jeffrey, I know when I look up and I see the stars, I will always find you twinkling, and my thoughts and heart will smile.
We're now going to hear from Jeffrey's maternal uncle, Steve.
I'm Sherry's brother. Thank you. I've never been accused of not projecting before, that's for sure. I think you said it, but, we all wish we weren't here. A lot of things I'm going to say have been said. Jeffrey was wonderful, friendly, smart, and funny. He had a terrible, terrible physical disease, but I think as someone else said, he didn't let that define him. He wasn't defined by his illness, and I'm going to go a little off script, and someone also mentioned that. You can't hear me? Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now? I'll start all over. It's very important. I probably should just shout out and don't use the microphone. He was wonderful, friendly, smart, and funny. He had a terrible physical disease, it's been talked about, but he wasn't defined by his illness. He didn't let it define him. And as someone else mentioned, Mark and Sherry, you guys didn't define him by that. You know, it was kind of like he was fair-skinned, had light hair, and mafuchis, and you know, it was that's not who he was. I thought he was a hero, and he approached life heroically. If you can't hear me, let me know. But I don't think he viewed it that way. To him, his situation was what it was, and he just worked around it. Again, he didn't let his illness define him. He once told his mother that he couldn't control my sister. He couldn't control what happened to him, but he could control how he dealt with it. I thought he embraced life, loved participating in life's activities. He engaged with people and has been evident, made deep impressions on people and lasting friendships. He loved sports. I think he rooted for the wrong teams, but watching sports and participating. You know, as you've seen, he went scuba diving, rock climbing, kayaking, sled boarding, played wheelchair tennis and sled hockey. I mean, people saw it, but I saw a video of him rock climbing, and I was terrified just looking at it. Years ago, I saw him play sled hockey, and man, this was not for the faint of heart. These were not a bunch of, quote, disabled people gingerly sliding around the ice, tapping at a puck. These were people, some of them quite large, aggressively trying to pulverize each other. The hits were fierce. And there were two guys on Jeffrey's team at the time, two large men, who were part of the U.S. National Olympic Paralympic team. I think he's probably lucky they were on his team. There was somebody else on his team at the time, a few years younger than him, who's now a star on the Paralympic U.S. National sled hockey team. These were serious players. I remember there was one time when Jeffrey was going for the puck, and there was a slide up of the sled. He got hit, and he got knocked over. And from the look on his face, I don't think he was too happy about it, but he got himself upright and started sledding toward the puck again. And that's how he approached life. He got back up, and he got back in the game. People talked about his humor, and his humor also included poking fun at himself. The last time that their family was in New York, and our families were out to dinner together, and for whatever reason, people started taking out their smartphone and talking about how many steps they had taken that day. So I took out my phone and announced the steps I had taken, which was embarrassingly, ridiculously few. Jeffrey looked up at me and goes, "Jesus Christ, Uncle Steve, I took more steps than you today." And it was already mentioned, but the plastic foot, it's here, so I'll say it. After he had his leg amputated, he told Sherry that at his next doctor's visit, he's going to stick it in his stump, and when they pull down his clothes, he's going to go, "Look, it's a miracle. My leg's growing back." You know, even when he was really ill, most recently, he kept up his sense of humor. He sent my son pictures and videos of himself in very uncomfortable medical situations that you couldn't put on the slides. And he had this wide-eyed, goofy expression on his face with this big grin about it. He just, the way he lived his life had a significant impact on many, many people. I miss him. We all miss him. And Jeffrey, I love you.
Jeffrey was a person who had long friendships. He knew how to be a good friend. And so we invite up Otis, who is a current friend, but also one of Jeffrey's friends from childhood.
Jeffrey and I met when we were 5 years old as Cub Scouts in the Fireballs of Den 3. Jeffrey always led the cheer. We are the Fireballs of Den 3. We burn red hot at 1,000 degrees. We're faster than light at 10 million and 3. Look in the night sky and you might see fireballs. We both stopped Scouts when we were 11 or 12, but we never stopped being friends. From elementary school to college to adulthood, we grew up together. And at some point, for some reason, we started calling ourselves the Beans. Kelby was string bean, Will was lima bean, I was refried bean, and Jeffrey was baked bean. What to say about baked bean? He was extraordinarily kind. In our 22 years of friendship, not once did he say or do anything unkind or even vaguely inconsiderate towards me. Not once. He paid attention to people. He treated them with care. He really listened. He'd cock his head to the side and say, I see that. That's interesting. And he meant it. When he laughed hard, sometimes so hard his eyes would close and he'd go silent. And he laughed a lot. He was funny. This is unavoidable. For many of our teenage years, Jeffrey, I, and many of the people in this room were huge stoners. I won't say that's a simple, uncomplicated thing, but I will say many of the happiest moments of my life, period, are with Jeffrey in a cloud of smoke, gorging ourselves on hot wings, watching light shows at the CU Planetarium, or just laughing at the dumbest things imaginable. Which is not to undermine that Jeffrey was extremely smart. If something interested him, he immersed himself in it. He had a way of talking about the things he cared about, sports, music, anything that made you care too. Jeffrey made me care about baseball. How did he do that? He also got me into like half of the bands I listen to today, including, importantly, Green Day. Jeffrey was a Green Day scholar. Last year, over a series of phone conversations, he unintentionally gave me a full-on college-level course on Green Day's concept album, American Idiot, complete with documentaries and readings and discussion questions. And I think he would support me in saying, you should all go listen to American Idiot, the full album, and read the lyrics. It's a dense masterpiece, it rewards close attention, and it's as relevant today as it was when it was released. I'll close with lyrics from one of Jeffrey's favorite Green Day songs, Pop Rocks and Coke. I don't care if you don't mind. I'll be there, not far behind. I will dare, keep in mind, I'll be there for you. When there's the truth, you know I'll be there. Amongst the lies, you know I'll be there. I'll go anywhere, so I'll see you there. I love you, Jeffrey. Thank you for being my friend.
I discovered Good Riddance this week. For our last speaker, I want to invite up Kelby, who has been Jeffrey's friend since kindergarten and was also his college roommate at CSU.
Thanks everyone for providing some words. Okay. Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here and saying such nice things and remembering all the great stories. Jeffrey was not only my best friend, but I also considered him my brother. We met on the playground in kindergarten. He walked up to me and asked if I wanted to play fireman. That's where you slide down the pole on the play structure at the Crestview playground. Jeffrey's mom sent a note to my mom saying, "Dear Kelby's mom, Jeffrey would like to have a play date with Kelby," and included their address and phone number. I went over to his house and we instantly felt a connection and understood each other on a level not many people get to experience. Being both only children that lived less than half a mile from each other, we spent so much time together after school, on the weekends, and on holidays. We would play for hours outside and then spend hours playing video games inside, like on our Game Boy, Nintendo DS, and Wii. We would race each other on who could finish all 8 worlds of Super Mario Bros. 3 first. In college, Jeffrey, Brooke, Leif, and I finished the Wii version of Super Mario's, which had a secret 9th world, if you would perfect all the previous levels, which was a pretty awesome accomplishment. Although he wasn't able to do all the things I was able to do, he had such a great attitude towards life and was always supporting his friends in any way he could. We were able to do lots of fun things throughout our 20-plus year friendship. I joined him in sled hockey practices and wheelchair tennis. Being able to do a sport other than competitive video gaming with him was so fun. Countless Rockies and Avs games. He would have a lot to say about the recent Avs trade of Mikko Rantanen. We went to so many planetarium shows, concerts, movies, and trips to cool places like Lake Powell and Acamal, Mexico. Most recently, we were able to go to Casa Bonita in November, Green Day in September, and a Rockies game in August. He loved doing things with us, and I'm so happy we got to experience growing up together. He was supportive and always there for his friends no matter what, as a true brother is. My relationship with Jeffrey is truly special. He had such an impact on who I am today and taught me how to be thoughtful in all aspects in life, teaching me patience, or trying his best to, perseverance, resilience, and understanding. He knew I always wanted him to push himself to be the best he could, even though I could never fully understand what he was going through. After elementary, middle, and high school, we went to CSU together and remained best friends. We lived together from 2016 to 2018 at Rams Village with Leif. Countless nights were spent ripping our 24-inch bong and playing video games or watching TV shows as a reward for studying and completing coursework during school, then waking up in the late morning to do it all again. The good old days of minimal responsibilities and gaming with the boys. I've missed that period of life in ways as it was comfortable and fun, yet also taught me how to be responsible, even if we were complete stoners. His self-control and awareness became evident after college, and I really admired his ability to stay off substances and have a good time no matter what. His chill, easygoing, yet attentive attitude was so infectious, and I try to carry that in my own way. We were lucky enough to spend the day with Jeffrey 2 days before he passed, recounting stories and memories of all of us hanging out. He was definitely a friend group leader with an easygoing demeanor, coordinating sporting events or shows to go to that all of us would enjoy. It's not going to be the same going to a Rockies game and not having my bro to sit next to and shoot the shit with. We love you so much and will always be with me. I'll be reconnected with you soon enough.
we're going to show the slideshow again and just take in all the stories and memories, and then we'll just do a few prayers and have a few words from Mark and Sherry.
Help.
thank you very much for coming. It's amazing how many people have shown here. I really appreciate you coming and sharing thoughts, memories, and tears on Jeffrey. Jeffrey was actually a very modest, humble person. I think you would really be surprised to hear all these positive words and impacts he's left on others. He was really an incredible and special human being, and I hope his inspiration, some of these inspirations live on. That being said, if he was here at this moment, either from above, from around you, or from your heart and stuff, he would probably be looking at his phone right now to find out. Because the app started playing at 1 o'clock, so I just have to find out what it is. Okay, so there is 9 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third period, and the Avs are ahead 2-zip. I don't know what that means, but, the only other thing he'd want to say is to go Avs, and maybe this year for the Rockies.
Thank you all for coming.
Sit down.
So we're going to recite 2 Jewish prayers. The first one is called El Malei Rachamim, and it is said when a person passes in the Jewish tradition. I'll first read the English to you, and then I would ask, as you are able, to please rise for the Hebrew. Eternal One, full of compassion, you dwell in the heights and in the depths. Grant perfect rest under the wings of your presence. To Jeffrey, our loved one who has entered eternity, let him find refuge forever in the shadows of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. For you, the everlasting one, are his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Please rise as you are able. I did want to say, I forgot, the family asked me to let you know that there are some goodies afterwards, and they hope you will stay and eat, and also to please write your memories or recollections on the note cards. Once this day has passed, each one of those memories that you share is a gift to them. So thank you for taking the time to do that. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Chamsei Menucha Nechuna, Tachat Kanfei Chashchina, Im Kedoshim Utechorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Jeffrey William Marshall, Shehalach le'olamo, Ba'al harachamim yastirehu, Beseter kenefaf le'olamim, Ba'yisror chachaim et nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, V'nomar Amen. I ask that you please stay standing. When I was meeting with Mark and Sherry, they said almost everybody knows the Jewish Mourner's Kaddish. It's what we recite at funerals, at Yiskers. And not everybody knows what this prayer means or why we say it. And so Mark asked me to share that with you. There are times in our lives where we feel nihilistic. Life is unfair. Just so unfair it feels. And it's hard sometimes to feel like you want to get up and keep on going. And the Jewish tradition tells us that those around us have to carry us and remind us, and we remind ourselves that life is a blessing, and we have to choose to have the time of our lives. That was a musical reference. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh b'chayei chon uvyomei chon uv'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam al mei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal shmei dekudusha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlam Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav huya aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen. Lech l'shalom. Go in peace.